Let's head to the voicemail of Truth and Reason.
How you doing? This is Chad in Idaho. I got this breaking news about Miles, and this is just a sad day, but Deshaun Watson, I feel, has completely sucked the momentum that we've put together the last 5 years of trying to break out of that losing culture that we had. As far as Miles, he wants to win, and I get that. The point I want to make is that this trade has to happen before the draft so we can get compensation. And to me, unfortunately, this looks like a full commitment to a rebuild 100% in an effort to set us in the best position for when the Brook Park Stadium gets open.
As always, appreciate all the voicemails. Let's welcome in Fred Greetham, senior analyst for the Orange and Brown Report. Fred, they don't have to trade him. He's under contract for 2 more years. If they trade him, as we mentioned in the first segment, the news segment that we do now, there's a $36 million cap hit. So you really can't trade him relative to the cap and what you're going to do because you're carrying the dead cap money from Deshaun Watson. And Fred, you know how these work in the front office. Every time you make a trade like the Deshaun Watson trade, there's a risk and a reward. You look at the best case scenario and you look at the worst case scenario. We're living the worst case scenario of a trade like that right now. It can't get much worse than what we've got from the Deshaun Watson trade. I know you've written an article about it. Take us through that.
Yeah, I mean it's the continual fallout of that, and not only was it the 230 million, the 3 first rounds, the 3rd round, the 2 fourth rounds, the 6 draft picks, but now you have a ripple effect where now it's continuing to affect your team. You don't have a quarterback, and your best player now has demanded a trade. Now, whether they accommodate him or not, I don't know, as you outlined, because of the constraints. Even if they wanted to, I mean, the reason Deshaun Watson's still on the roster is because they can't get rid of him because of the dead cap, and you got that again with Miles Garrett. And there's not too many teams that can absorb, you know, the draft picks or do what it takes. So you're sitting in the situation, absolutely. It's turned out to be the worst possible scenario. The We talked about it even last year in the offseason that if Deshaun Watson could just play all 17 games and just be an average quarterback, this team can win. They probably will never go deep or win the Super Bowl unless he gets back to the level he was. But I really expected him to play at least average. He played historically bad. I mean, the numbers just were off the charts. And so, at this time last year, Miles Garrett was quoted by ESPN saying, the ultimate is to play your entire career with a team and win a championship. And even in October this year, he wanted to finish his career with the Browns. And now it's a complete about face, even from the last time we talked to him. And I don't know exactly what has happened. The timing of this is very curious. He puts out a statement after a week with his buddies at the Pro Bowl. I don't know, what his peers are saying. Hey, you need to get out of there. This is the way you do it. I know a lot of people don't want to hear this, but he's represented by Clutch Sports, and that's LeBron James. I've been told that he has spoken LeBron, and maybe they advised him this is the way to do it, to put pressure. I don't know. But it's an ugly situation, and even now going forward, you can mend the fences. We saw this with Lamar Jackson demanded to be traded. I don't think people remember much about that anymore. Brandon Ayuk, even this year, uh, you know, there's 3 or 4 just in the last little bit. I think Trey Hendrickson, demanded a trade, and T. Higgins and so forth. So I don't think he's necessarily trying to negotiate for a big contract because I think he's going to get that. But you talk about winning a Super Bowl. Okay, Dave, don't you think everybody wants to win a Super Bowl? I know some guys want to make money, but if you let him do what he wants, Do you think he even can guarantee he's going to win a Super Bowl if you trade him to the Chiefs or the Bills? You know, they
Yeah,
might be on the doorstep, but there's no guarantee. I mean, we're looking at history. If the Chiefs win this year, it'd be like the only time a team has done it three
3 times.
times.
Yep.
So it is literally a lottery, when it comes to Super Bowl. And why would you trade him to a team that's going to be drafted 30th? You know,
Yeah.
People
You,
wouldn't like me saying this,
no,
but
you
when
don't. You don't.
Kyrie Irving asked to be traded, I would have traded him to Sacramento. I
Yeah.
wouldn't trade him to the Chiefs or the Bills or the Ravens or the. Why would you do that? I mean, unless the Browns are just going to say, we're just going to step back and step out of the NFL for a while. Why would they give up everything they have just to accommodate a player?
Yeah.
Saw how that worked out with OBJ. They
He-
basically let him torpedo the season, and he won a Super Bowl because he got to pick where he wanted to go, and
the,
worked out.
the concerning thing with Miles is it isn't about the money. If it was about the money, you pull out the checkbook and Jimmy Haslam writes a check and Andrew Berry figures out how to push it down the road, and that's even more concerning. So what he's doing is he's putting a lot of pressure on Andrew Berry to improve this roster. And Andrew Berry probably felt it initially. He probably feels it a whole lot more.